Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods. And now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Dorothy, I hope you had a good 4th.
I did.
Did you happen to catch either of the Pinehurst or Carthage parades?
Unfortunately, no, I didn't. I was battling a tree all weekend.
So July 4th this year was more than just July 4th. It became a celebration of opening up, people getting together, going to fireworks. And my guest to my left, Laura Morgan, was an instrumental part of both those parades, both in Pinehurst and Carthage. I saw the beautiful pictures on social media. Laura is the current Miss North Carolina Senior America Queen for 2020 and 2021. And she is being joined by Beverly Wetherbie, who was the Miss Virginia Senior America in 2005. And today she's a co-director of the North Carolina Senior America.
That's good.
And Beverly, this is the first time you and I got a chance to meet.
That's right.
But I had a chance to meet Laura back in the end of January under very unusual circumstances. And when I heard about Laura, I heard it from Jacob Toth. Is that his pronunciation? Toth. And he was a producer at the Encore Center. And Laura was playing a role in a show called Love Letters, which was just a story about 2 people who would read letters back and forth that represented their entire life from elementary school to the time through their marriages, their divorces. And they asked me to play opposite her. Well, I've never played anything before. And I got a great appreciation for Laura Morgan during that event, especially when I saw the replay of the show. I couldn't even qualify to be your caddy. And I joke about that, but I am serious. I was very taken. We couldn't look at each other during the show, by the way.
That's right.
We were facing opposite ways, so I could not see how she walked into the role. She was demonstrative. She was dramatic. She had all the expressions, and I sat there like a lump on a log. Laura, that was it was a fun project to do, and you've been involved in the Encore Center actually since then,
Right.
doing other events, and the more that I follow you, the more I realize how well-rounded you're. A singer, you're an actress. Miss North Carolina Senior America, I was not familiar with it prior to meeting you. Can you give me a little bit of background, what it is and where it came from?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll defer this to
Beverly?
my director now.
Okay, Beverly?
Well, Dr. Almott started this program or this pageant in 1972. He just graduated from Oral Roberts University, where he has a master's in divinity.
Okay.
Well, as he didn't know where he was going from that point, he went to a senior center and started interviewing ladies that came in. They were looking for something to do. What can we do? What we can do? You know, we're still young. We're in our 60s. Well, why not?
Right.
So he decided to have a pageant. His first pageant had, I believe he told me, 18 candidates. And the lady that won had no idea what she was headed for, but she wrote a beautiful letter, which he read it to me one day when I was talking to him.
Okay.
Just, in other words, these ladies are out there, 60 and older, and they're still active. We've got some in their 90s that are still active with us, and that's the beauty of this. These are sisters forever once they become part of the pageant.
I remember growing up as a child in the 60s and 70s, watching on television beauty pageants with my sister. And over the years, in each decade, there have beauty pageants have become way more politically correct as we get through the new century. The emphasis on what was featured in the 60s is no longer the same as what's featured today. Is that accurate?
That's correct. But Senior America believes that we don't have beauty. We're not a beauty pageant. We're a inner beauty pageant.
Okay.
Inner beauty being that the talent and the background that these ladies have has been brought to the surface, and we look towards teaching our youth all of the things that we know, our talent and our expertise. I have ladies come up to me and say, I have no talent. Of course, Laura has talent.
I agree.
She has talent. But we have ladies that do homemaking skills. I've had them do quilts. I've seen a lady that did canning and won a blue ribbon in the state fair. Arrange flowers. There's so many things that we know.
Okay. So how did you and Laura hook up?
Laura called me and said she wants to get in this pageant. And I said, I have one more spot because I will only take 10 to 12 in a pageant. I see no reason to put 10 to 12 60-year-olds backstage. And when we're talking 60, we also have them in their 80s. And we get them backstage. They need help each other.
Okay.
And it's just one of those things. But she came over to my house, and we had a great talk, and we connected immediately.
How did you, Laura, find out about the existence of this particular pageant?
Well, it's a strange journey in itself. I was singing for a fundraiser in Robeson County about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And then I get this message that some lady had heard me sing.
Right.
And could I please call her?
Okay.
I'm like, about what? Maybe she wants me to sing for a child's wedding or something. Well, she called. She's from Wilmington, and she identified herself as a former South Carolina senior. And in a roundabout way, asked how old I was. When I told her I'm 56, she said, man, not that you look it, but I was kind of hoping you'd say closer to 60.
Right.
So then she told me about this and set me up with the South Carolina group, because I did live in South Carolina, some as a child, on and off between Argentina and back in the States. And so I got to know that group, and they came and met me, and then we went to the pageant in 2019 here in North Carolina just to see what it was all about.
Okay.
And so saw that pageant. And then on the way home, after I performed there in South Carolina, they said, we think you ought to physically run for North Carolina because you're actively involved in your community. Your husband's at the VA hospital there. This is where your home is. This is where you're going to stay.
Right.
So I had little time, and they gave me Bev's information. I contacted her and went over there, and I think our 15-minute, what should have been a 15-minute, here's my application, turned into about a 2.5 hour because we had so much in common. So it was like really a last-minute decision. So it was fun.
Beverly, during Love Letters, I did not know Laura could sing, except there was one line in one of her lines where she had to sing out of just a discourse of talking and all of a sudden break into a chorus for a very short period of time. So I could hear how good her voice was. You went on to perform in Smoke on the Mountain, and that was more of a country,
right?
Feel good, but you had to sing, you had to act. Did you play an instrument as well?
I had to play the piano.
Jeez.
Everybody on stage had to act, sing, and play a musical instrument. So, and I played piano, so it was easy.
So, but singing is that was one of your passions,
right?
And
oh yeah.
Always? Have you always been a singer?
Always. My mother was my first vocal instructor. She had her master's in voice and piano. She was fabulous. And I've been singing since I was a little kid, in churches and little plays and stuff like that. And so it's just natural.
So you raised a family. You have how many children?
It's a blended marriage. So between my husband and we have 4. My oldest is 31. Then I have a 31, a 29, and my youngest is 28, soon to be 29.
But you raised a family as a young...
right.
Okay.
Right.
Were you performing as a young mother? Or?
My first performance was Once Upon a Mattress when I moved to Lumberton after I got married, and I was actually 4 weeks pregnant.
Oh boy!
So when you're up there on mattresses, look like 20 mattresses high. The story about the Princess and the Pea, and you're doing all kinds of moves because you can't sleep. There's a pea under that mattress. And I remember my former father-in-law said, "You need to be careful. You got a precious life inside of you," which is probably about the size of a pea at that time.
Right.
So, and then my next big one, I mean, they were 2 and 5 when I did Maria and Sound of Music and followed me to every rehearsal. So I have been doing since the get-go now.
So you had a chapter 2 in your life. Whenever I hear that expression, chapter 2, I think of Mason and what was it? The Neil Simon play,
Right,
chapter 2.
Yeah.
Marilyn Mason, was her name?
Marsha Mason.
Marsha
Marsha
Mason.
Mason.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I forget the gentleman's name, but
Right.
you had a chapter 2 in your life. You remarried and continued with what I guess what has been a lifelong passion.
Right. Right. And my husband's very supportive of it. When I got remarried, I moved to Germany. He was stationed there, and immediately got caught up there with our church. And I was often the soloist for the Handel's Messiah, the Vivaldi's Gloria. I sang in some of the churches on the economy as well. But I also did the national anthem a lot, which is what I'll do a lot here at Fort Bragg as well. I'm getting ready to do it this coming Friday for a retirement ceremony. So I still remain active with singing.
So 2021, you have kept a very busy active schedule. It hasn't slowed you down at all.
Not as active as it could have been, but now that things are lifting. I actually just finished singing at Pinnock Village. Bev's husband and a group of gentlemen have called the Corona Tutors, and they often play in downtown Southern Pines. And so we sang at Pinnock Village, so that was a lot of fun. And doing Smoke on the Mountain and doing a couple productions with that. So things are starting to pick up. I've sung some for some programs. Like I said, I'm getting ready to go this coming Saturday and sing the national anthem and a couple other songs for a patriotic thing. So,
And the 23rd of July, we're going to the gorgeous Grandma
Oh, we are?
in Cary.
Where are we going?
Oh, we're going up to Cary. One of the retirement homes in Cary asked us to come up. They're having a gorgeous Grandma day, and they're giving the residents makeup and pictures and that. They asked for us to come up and have pictures with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, from your perspective, you've been involved in the pageant at least going back to 2004 or 5, right? Before
1999.
Jeez. Okay.
It's been a long time.
So, what do you think, with your perspective, the pageant represents to the people who are observing? What's the message that you're trying to convey?
The message is that we never grow old.
Right.
We never grow old.
Right.
I'm 83, and I'm still going.
Right.
I may fall down occasionally, but I'm fine.
Well, so Laura represents what for you? What are the attributes that she has that translate so positively?
I think a lot of people would look at Laura and say, "Oh, if I could be as pretty as she is,
Right.
I could wear that crown too."
Right.
I think it's people look at beauty in a different way. I don't. I see what happens on the inside of every one of these ladies that come to our pageant. We have some that are very eager to do it. Others are just doing it because they want to do it. It's just one of those fun things to do. And if you get into it and you don't win, you keep coming back. I did it 4 times before I achieved a crown.
So you were in 05 is when you won, but you had done it
Correct.
a few times before that.
Correct.
Okay.
Did it 4 times.
So tell me, you're not a native of Moore County.
No.
No. How did you land in Moore County? You came from Virginia?
Came from Virginia, but like I said, we just decided we'd get in the motorhome and travel down the road and see where we were going to go next because we were ready to leave Virginia. Traffic, taxes, and other things.
Must be Northern Virginia.
It was Alexandria, Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
So when we got in the motorhome, we just happened to stop here in one of the campgrounds, got a real estate agent, and he actually showed us 3 houses and 1 empty lot to build on. Well, our requirements were a large bedroom, a large kitchen, and a place to park that motorhome right next to us so we could use it for a second guest cottage,
Right.
which we did many times. that was what our requirements were. The only house that we could find was the one in Aberdeen, and they had just put it on the market, and I've loved it ever since.
And that's where you've lived ever since?
That's right.
No, what year was that?
2006.
Okay. So you're almost a native. I mean,
Almost.
You've been here long enough.
That's right.
There's a barbershop quartet. You were talking about singing before,
Right.
that we had on a couple of weeks ago, and were celebrating their 40th anniversary. Dorothy, do you remember that show? Remember we had the two gentlemen on. They were both barbershop quartet singers.
Yeah.
And their group has been in existence since. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I do.
1980s?
We had them perform at our pageant for entertainment one time, and I can't remember their names.
So Laura would be. She could break some barriers. By the way, if she were to perform with them, she might be the first female
Barbershop quintet.
Well, she did break barriers with the Corona tutors because my husband says we've never had a singer with the band, and he handed her music.
Right.
Because of her music talent, she was able to follow them. And my husband took a big sigh of relief when they got through the song "Hello, Dolly." That was he was happy.
We're going to come back in the second set. We're speaking with Laura Morgan, who is the Miss North Carolina Senior America in 2020 and 2021, and Beverly Wetherbie, Miss Virginia 2005, and the co-director of the North Carolina Senior America. This is All Things Moore County. Welcome back to our second set of All Things Moore County. We're talking about the Miss North Carolina Senior America pageant with Laura Morgan, who is the North Carolina entrant. Laura, it's difficult. You've been doing this for 2020 and 2021, but 2020 was a COVID year. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand how all that. How did we do that?
Well, it was supposed to have been held in May
Right.
of 2020, but then COVID hit, so everything got shut down.
Right.
And so, meeting with Bev and the others who were participating, we were desperate to try to go ahead and have it done this last year. I mean, I guess other states chose to wait. So we finally, in November, were able to have it, and a dear friend of mine got us the fellowship hall at the Village Chapel, because we needed one of the contestants played the piano, and so we had to have a piano as well. So it's not only finding a time, but it's also finding a location, because things were still not opening up. And I'm glad we did it. We live streamed it while we were all on stage. We all wore masks. Bev made masks for us that had a smile superimposed onto it, so we all looked the same. Once you got off and did your own thing, your philosophy, your gown walk, your talent, you didn't have to have your mask on. And unfortunately, we could only have 2 guests per contestant, and so they had to be, socially distanced, wear a mask. But we live streamed it. We had over 1,400.
It was over 1,400 hits on our live stream.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
From all over the United States.
And that's impressive, but it's nothing compared to what if Atlantic City was the location where you're all going to converge this year. But things have started to open up in the state. I mean, just evidence of last weekend's July 4th celebrations. I was watching a baseball game one night, and it looked like the pandemic was never a thing.
Right.
The stadiums are filling up, but the rules aren't applying to pageant entrance?
Well, it's like you said, it was supposed to have been this coming October in New Jersey, but I don't know if they need to go ahead and make a decision. And with things still kind of up in the air, not knowing.
The hotels are not
not.
opening
Okay.
as much in Atlantic City. And our director there has said we will do it virtual this year. We have other states doing pageants right now, and those queens will go next year to national. Laura's one of the few. I think there's only 2 or 3 that are both 20 and 21. We had to have it done by the end of November, and we made it because they said anybody after that had to wait.
So she'll be exhibiting along with women from all the other states.
All the states.
We probably have maybe 20-something
20
states now.
something.
They had to have somebody by the end of June. After that, like Bev said, it's going to next year.
Okay.
But everything from my North Carolina pageant, my gown walk, my philosophy, the videotape of all those has been submitted, as well as my talent. So all that's going to be submitted has been submitted, along with our application, the biography. So now we're in a wait-see. We're waiting for to be reached out to by the national judges for our interviews, our private interviews, which we also had for the state.
Okay.
And that'll probably be done via Zoom. After that, I guess they'll just look at all of them, all the videos, and go through what they did and make their final determination. So it is kind of sad because we had such camaraderie with other women,
right.
And you get to meet them. I've met a lot of the contestants via Facebook. We've all kind of friended each other. And hopefully one day we will meet.
So I think if we were to have this interview via telephone, because we couldn't be together, it would lose some of its appeal.
Right.
And even if it were a Zoom presentation, it would lose some of its appeal because to sit here to get a sense of who you are
Right.
is so much more vivid this
Right.
way in person, right? Eye contact, body language, all of that good stuff, right?
And the way I look at it, we're all at that same disadvantage.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm the only one, or
Right.
we all are going to have everything done by Zoom. But you're right. You miss that physical presence,
Yeah.
that getting to know that person. Yeah.
You mentioned, in addition to some of the things you were sending to the judges, you mentioned your philosophy. Explain that to me.
So a philosophy is what you are about your life. What I guess what makes you who you are,
Okay.
and it had to be no longer than 35 seconds. And so basically mine was, life imitates art, and my life imitates roles I played in musical theater. Like Maria in Sound of Music, we've all had to wash a few men out of our hair. Like Maria in Sound of Music, a handsome soldier did propose to me on the Austrian Alps. And like Peter Pan, I still refuse to grow up or grow old. Life is not a dress rehearsal. You only have one chance on stage.
Right.
And until that curtain's drawn, I'm going to keep on singing.
So let's fast forward to October. Okay, Laura wins, right? People say, "Oh my gosh, she's the real deal." What happens to her life after that event in October? Does she travel? What goes on?
She will travel to as many state pageants as we can afford to send her, or she can afford to buy the plane tickets. The money is the issue, but traveling to a national pageant, and we have had our national queens come to our state pageants many times.
Okay.
We didn't in 2019 when Laura saw us, but we did in 2018, and that was done in the Sunrise Theater down in Southern Pines. That unfortunately, that queen passed away 2 weeks before the national last year, so it was a very sad occasion, but as sisters, we gathered together and celebrated her life as she would have been on that stage. The national queen becomes a person that every state looks up to, every state, and they all want them to come. But it's funding. How much funding can we afford? Same for the states.
Tell me, I enjoy listening to you speak. Tell me about your background. You raised a family?
My background?
Yeah.
I have 2 children.
Okay.
My daughter is 61, and I keep encouraging her for Virginia.
Right.
She unfortunately is divorced with 3 children,
Okay.
3 grandchildren, 1 great-grandbaby in January.
Okay.
And then I have a son who's 59, lives down in Florida, and looking out for this storm coming in right now.
If you raised your family in Northern Virginia, was your husband a government-related job?
My husband was in the military. 26 years we traveled as military family.
Okay.
Best years of my life.
Yeah.
Best years. Mainly because I think it probably gave me some confidence to get out and do things. And when I was asked to run for Virginia Senior America, it was like, who, me? I'm a ballroom dancer. I need a partner. You cannot have a live person on stage with you. So
Right.
I became creative in many other ways.
So your talent was ballroom dancing.
Ballroom dancing.
Laura's talent is, it's not just singing though, is it? It's acting, it's singing.
No, she's singing. Her talent is
It is going to be
singing.
singing.
Right,
That's
yes.
Right.
Yes.
Did you pre-record selections that you're going to submit? How does that work?
Well, I actually did a medley from The Sound of Music.
Okay.
And I had it recorded at the Encore Center.
Okay.
And I chose Climb Every Mountain to start with that. Then I went into my favorite things, which I have sung before. And then I finished up with I Have Confidence.
Wow.
And I actually found a music producer in Fayetteville, Milton Smith, who was just fabulous. His name was given to me. And I told him, I said, this is what I want. I have to be under 2 minutes and 45 seconds because otherwise they get you on points if you go over. And I met him one day. He had the skeleton typed out in my voice range, my vocal range. And then within a week, he sent me the recording, the orchestration, and it was perfect, 2 minutes and 43 seconds. So, but I love those songs because they really did speak to me.
Right.
And
Right.
my life growing up.
And she had an audience of 7 plus the videographer. All the other queens that are in the area all showed up, sashes on, and sat out there for her to sing.
Great
to us.
support system. Yeah.
The event is going to be in October. When is it?
Well, it's supposed to be virtually the end of August.
Oh,
Is what
the
they're talking
End
about.
of August,
Right.
last weekend.
Right.
Oh, okay. The
So,
end of August.
yeah.
So that's when everything will have come to fruition at that point in time.
We hope.
That's only a month and a half away.
I know. So that's what
Right?
I'm saying. All I'm waiting for now is for the judges to reach out.
Gotcha.
You're
There'll
right.
be,
It's
there'll
a
be
month and a half.
5 judges, and that's what's hard because they've got to get these 5 in from wherever they are.
I'm going to reach out to all 5 of them and send
There
them
you
a
go.
tape of this show. How's that?
We're going to have a voting contest. We all agree.
It'll take Laura right over the top.
Right.
We're going to come back in the third set. We're speaking with Laura Morgan. She is the Miss North Carolina Senior America for 2020 and 2021. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our third set with Laura Morgan, who is Miss North Carolina Senior America. Their virtual event is coming up in August, and we're having the privilege of also speaking with Beverly Wetherbie, who is currently the co-director of the Senior America, North Carolina Senior America, and was Miss Virginia in 2005. I got a chance to know Laura a little bit earlier this year, and she's subsequently been on the show a couple of times in conjunction with the Encore Theater. And that relationship with the Encore Theater, was that one of those things you didn't see coming?
Exactly. One of the judges for the pageant is on the board and very active with the Encore Center.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mimi.
I did not know that.
Mimi Carter.
Mimi Carter.
And so she just reached out to me via private message, goes, do your queenly duties, which at that point were not many, allow you to get involved in the theater? Because that was part that came out in my biographies, the musical productions. And I said, well, sure. And so that's when she told me about Love Letters and auditioning for Love Letters.
Is that right?
So do you know Mimi?
I don't know her,
Okay,
but
yeah.
I didn't know that.
So she's very involved.
the
And like I
connection.
said, so now I've joined the board. So now I'm on the board, and I am getting back to my
You're on the board of the Encore Center? All this happened in the last couple of months.
right.
All because of that crown.
Right. That's that's correct. It's a nice connection to have.
And that's, especially what the Encore Center stands for, and you've had Jacob on here. It's just,
Yep.
we mentor, and that's for the young people. It is a learning center, and we don't just do theater. I just finished watching Matilda,
Yep.
and I was absolutely blown. The girl who played Matilda was 10 years old, and everybody on stage was amazing.
So talk to me a little bit about the role model that you are, especially to young kids. Matilda, the students were from what age to what age?
She was the youngest. She was 10. I think the oldest was 18.
Wow.
Right.
So they're looking at you and they're saying, "Oh my gosh, I can visual," and it also gives credence to the arts. It's okay to do, right?
Oh yeah.
Have you developed any sort of special relationships with any of the students, the actresses, the singers, or are there any poignant moments that you've had that maybe kind of hit you, blindsided you, that you were not expecting?
I think it was more in Smoke on the Mountain.
Okay.
The young girl who played my daughter, I had one daughter, and then I had a set of twins. And the
In
one
the-
who
in the
played
play?
in the play,
Okay,
right?
okay.
And the girl who played the twin, it was just I got really emotional during the last performance because it is you it's a bond. You create this family,
Right. Correct.
and she just held she held my hand, put her arm around me, and we just had that neat little bond. And I became her mother for those
How
several
old was
weeks.
she?
She's 16.
Wow.
And a fabulous violin player. She played it like a fiddle because this was country, kind of bluegrassy music. But she's just the sweetest thing, and we just really hit it off.
Is she a high school student?
She is. She's homeschooled. Mm-hmm.
She's homeschooled. Does she have plans to get into the dramatic arts going forward?
She has talked about going to East Tennessee. Johnson City, East Tennessee University. I think they have a bluegrass major or something. So I think she found her fulfillment by doing this kind of thing as opposed to classically, playing the violin. So that was a lot of fun getting to know her and just talking to her about, my experiences on stage and how to handle things. Because she had never sung in public, ever.
Wow.
And so she was terrified. And I just gave her some pointers and how to relax and enjoy and get up there and do what you do.
I was going to say, to add to that, after the parade, we ran into a lady from Ohio and her young daughter. And Laura did the same thing with this young daughter. I don't know, she might have been 10, 11. And she was encouraging her because she kept looking at Laura and, that wide eye. And I have had the same experience happen to me.
I'm sure.
The young girls and even the little boys will come up to you.
Right.
There's an element from what you're both saying that you both have the opportunity or the privilege of, in some ways, paying it forward, mentoring, helping the generations behind you come up and see the world differently, and it's a form of giving back, isn't it?
Sure it is.
Yeah.
The last sentence in this philosophy from National. It's upon their knowledge, and they're talking about Senior America Queens, their knowledge, experience, and resources that the younger generation has the opportunity to build a better society. This philosophy was written by Dr. Mott, and we read this philosophy every function we have, just to remind them. And I tell the ladies as they go into this, read your philosophy, because there's so much in this. But it does dwell upon teaching the younger ones.
There's something we were talking at the break about reinventing yourself, creating new chapters in your book. It's never too late to keep adding chapters. Sometimes people will run the gamut and they're 50 or 55 and they think they're done. The truth of the matter is the best is still in front of them if they had the opportunity.
That's right.
Right? I mean, you started
That's
this.
right.
How old were you when you started getting involved with the pageant?
I was 62, I think.
What'd your children think? What'd they say?
Well, my daughter looked at me, Mom.
Yeah, right.
With the big wide eyes, what are you doing? My son could care less, but now he photographed this last pageant that Laura was in. He was the photographer.
Is that right?
He knew what I do and what he wanted to create for me.
Right.
So they have been involved in various ways.
Interesting. And Laura, I had an opportunity to meet your son at
Right.
Love Letters. He came to one or two of the shows, and we met in the hall. What is his outlook, and what does he think about all that you're doing?
Oh, he is so proud of me.
Yeah.
He's so excited. They were at the
Beams.
house.
Yeah.
because I had my brother and my husband, because I didn't know my children's schedule, so they're going to be able to come to the to the pageant or not. Plus, we were very limited. So they were at the house, and by the time I got back there, they had a recording of "We Are the Champions" playing, and they had balloons and everything. I mean, they had immediately gone out and gotten some stuff. So both my boys are extremely proud of me and excited.
Yeah.
And, by Tara and Whit, my stepchildren as well.
Right.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
they're very
I
supportive.
could see that. Yeah, your son beamed. Very handsome guy.
Right.
Very good looking. Looks like he walked off GQ magazine.
Yeah.
And he had this big. You could just see he was very
Yeah.
protective of you and very proud at the same time.
Yeah.
The pageant and that what you do is not in any shape or form political. You actually do everything you can to stay away from that, right? And it's refreshing to know that. But I did notice that, and getting to know Laura a little bit, your social media presence is very consistent and very strong. And you use it as a sounding board to telegraph messages, not just about the pageant, about events with the Encore Center. But she has a whole litany of what I call affirmations on her site, and some of them I was scrolling through. She's as active on social media as anybody that I know, right? You support.
Is that a good thing?
It's a good thing. She supports everybody that it comes in her way, in her walk,
Absolutely.
and in so doing, indirectly is supporting herself. But she's trying to help everyone around her. One of your affirmations, and I don't know if that's the right word, was the 26 letters of the English alphabet, and that they're so intelligently arranged, they show you the way of life. So I thought, okay, I'm going to read through this one. And I know we're going to post this, but always be cool. Don't have ego with friends or family. Give up hurting individuals. Just keep loving mankind. Never omit prayer. Quietly remember God. Speak the truth. Use valid words. Express your zeal. In that, what I just read, it went through A through Z, and it gave each letter a meaning. That's spiritual. I mean, your spirituality is something you can also express about how you live your life and what's important, right? And you help to set a tone of morale or behavior.
And I believe in spreading kindness. I just believe that, especially when it's like we said, this is not a beauty pageant. This is more of an inner beauty, and you always try to portray that to people around you. And I just truly am. Maybe I'm very naive about this, but if we always express kindness and positivity and goodness, and hopefully that would make the world a better place. But I just feel it just goes farther than being negative, and I just refuse to post anything negative. I always try to be an encourager.
Stay away from politics.
Stay away from politics.
Not worth it.
And so I was listening to a message one time, and it talked about how whatever we do in life, base it upon our shape. And I love this because it's an acronym for our spiritual gifts, and mine are like encouragement and discernment, your heart, your ability, your personality, and your experience. And I think through all that, and it's like we were talking with our philosophy, the older we get, we have so much experience. We have lived through so many positive, negative things that it's how we have now come onto this side, and the kind of person we now, and that's what we mentor to kids and young people, say that, life is going to throw you these side things, but it's what you do with them. And I just try to be positive all the time.
Yeah. I like a lot of the things you post. And it's positive. I think I've deleted 100 people from my social media just because they're so ridiculous. It's all about right versus wrong.
Right.
And when someone is trying to be right, essentially what they're doing is they're trying to make everybody else wrong. Delete. Anyway, that's me.
Right.
The event is going to happen in August, but next May, you have, hopefully, and it will not be virtual.
No, it will not.
In 2022, you have the pageant being held here in Moore County for the whole state.
That's correct. May 7th at 7 o'clock in the evening. We're all going to be at Owens Auditorium, Sandhills Community College in Pinehurst.
Right.
I've got 12 right now on my list that have said we want to do this. I've got more names than that right now, but I can't take more than 12.
These are people that are trying to qualify to
Yes.
enter the
Yeah.
2022.
And qualifications, I don't screen them. Some states do. They'll have a pre-qualification. We don't. We have a getting to know you in February just to let people, you find out what we're about, and we'll find out what you are, why you're here. One of our candidates, our congeniality this year, was one of those walk-ins, and she said, I'm going to do it next year. Mm-hmm. Well, I said to her, we're not going to do one in 21, but we will in 22. Mm-hmm. And she says, well, then I'll do it this year. And she won congeniality. So the enthusiasm's there. I tried to get them interested at that point.
Mm-hmm. What happens... Laura, you'll be part of the 2022 pageant, but after August pageant, what does the rest of 2021 look like for you?
Well, I'm sure there's going to be some traveling, and in fact, my husband and I are taking all 4 of our kids and their spouse or significant others, because my son's getting ready to get married in October, to Argentina.
Oh, really?
To visit Argentina.
Wow.
They've never, when we lived in Germany, they would either lived with us or traveled over there and visited, so they got to travel all over, but they've never been to the country where I grew up. So I'm really looking forward to that. I've also got a thing with one of our former contestants to judge a pageant show, I think in Greensboro, for young women. So like I said, just things are opening up now. So I'm sure there'll be some good traveling and more participations and things.
Well, I just want to thank you for setting a bar and being consistent. And also, I admire you because you have created opportunities to express yourself. Not everybody does that.
Right.
And that in itself is a very strong message. And Beverly, I wanted to thank you for coming and joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
I can tell you almost feel maternal towards Laura, excuse me, just a little bit.
We have.
And a little proud.
We have found that we have many things in common.
We do.
Right.
She's been to Germany, I have too, and various things. The military life has brought us together. Like I said, we can always have a cup of tea and spend 2 hours together.
Well, it's a pleasure to speak to both of you, and if people want to find out more information about the event, they can go to your website, which is ncsenior.america.com, and that's spelled out, ncsenior.america.com.
That's correct.
It's a pleasure. I just know I'm going to wind up seeing her down the road, but I think I'll just wind up staying in the audience where I belong and watching her on stage.
You never know. Your service might be needed somewhere else.
No. I will be an
Just
audience
applaud
supporter.
loudly.
That's right.
Thank you for having us, though.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. Everybody have a great week. Thank you.